I forgot to do the countdown. I'm supposed to do the countdown with Kathy, but never mind. Here we are back again. And we are here today again to talk about political astrology, and we're going to focus on a certain apparent leaders chart. But as usual, we'll go through the news and the aspects around the major lunar eclipse that's coming up before and just after it, because this eclipse is the total lunar eclipse is huge. But before that, I am Louise Edington, Cosmic Owl Astrology. LouiseEdington.com is my website. I have two memberships. I also write on Substack daily, so I have a membership there and a membership on my website, but there it's all getting integrated because everything's moving. And I think that's it for today. But also my book series is doing really well, getting rave reviews. So please, if you have the book, leave me a review. If you didn't buy it from Amazon, you can leave a review on the Kindle. Whether you bought it there or not does not matter. And if you haven't got it, then go buy my book.
Hi, I'm
Kathy.
Kathy Beal. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. I have forecasts there for every week, every new moon, every full moon, every month, and a lot of articles on other things. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian, and all of my forecasts are double posted there as well, in addition to the political and whatnot that I have up there. My Patreon is patreon.com/Kathy Beal, and I have quickie daily forecasts there and a variety of different types of bonus content depending on the support level.
Cool. And before we go into the news, in case you think these holes are deliberate in this shirt, I'm feeling Scorpio moon ragey this morning because Kyiv was bombed really badly again last night, and I have a friend there, and also the person who's apparently our leader is attacking Utah now because a judge ruled that our ballot initiative to have an independent redistricting commission that was overturned by our state legislature, has been re-overturned, but he says that's unconstitutional. What happened to we the people? And so I'm pissed off. So this t-shirt is I feel shit when I wake up. It's a young blood t-shirt because I felt like that this morning. So anyway. Kathy's going to go in with the news.
All right, as always, I choose news items based that reflect the astrology that we've been talking about. And I'm actually going to wear my glasses because I wrote these. All right, Kilmer Garcia has been freed and then was immediately picked up by ICE, and now there's a battle going on. The judge is saying, don't you dare send him out of the country. Hegseth fired the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, whose report on the Iranian bombing stated that it had only minimally affected Iran's nuclear capabilities by only a few months. So, since he spoke something that was different than the story that the administration wants to put out, he got fired. That's going to be a theme in the news. A court blocked knocking thousands of people off the Affordable Care Act. Texas approved its redistricting map. Suits that were already in progress against their redistricting measures were amended to include this one. A variety of reps are saying that they're not going to run for office again, and there's a big question about whether this has actually achieved the result that the GOP wanted. Additionally, there was a constitutional issue with how they went about this because a state senator was trying to had a right to a filibuster before the vote, and they threw her out of the chambers. Notice the theme here. All right, court blocked Trump from revoking HUD and transportation grants to blue cities. The new moon on the 22nd, 23rd was square Uranus, and we have multiple things showing that. And the big one is multiple countries have now stopped sending mail at least shipments, to the United States because the de minimis tariff exemption has been waived. What this means is it used to be that even if there was a tariff from a country, there was an exemption. No tariff was applied for purchases under $800 for reasons known only to the puppet master. This has now been waived, meaning that if you try to order something off Etsy from Canada or England, you would have to pay, you personally would have to pay a huge tariff on it, except these countries aren't even allowing shipping anymore. So Uranus and Gemini, things flying in the air, some kind of break. In the things that
Mm.
move through the air department, um, also part of all of this, Trump got the United States, and I'm guessing entertainment purposes only, he's getting some out of this too, a 10%
Mm.
interest in Intel, which is unprecedented for the US government to own part of a private business. He's announced that he's going to send or is sending the National Guard to something like 17 red states and also to Chicago. We'll see what happens with that. A court dismissed the Department of Justice suit against all of the federal judges in Maryland over a standing order that had been issued in a Maryland federal court that limited the quick deportation of refugees without hearings. So that's been thrown out. We know that will get appealed. Venus opposed Pluto, two planets of desire and money, and Trump took control of Union Station away from Amtrak. That's the train station in DC. Um, Big kerfuffle going on at the CDC. Um, the RFK Jr.'s department announced that first it said no more COVID vaccines. Then it issued very, very stringent restrictions for who's entitled to get them. And the new head of the CDC, he was told either quit or be fired, and she said, I will not. A whole bunch of lower people have
Oh.
resigned. She refused to go. Trump fired her. She's still refusing to go, saying it's illegal. And in that department, Trump attempted or says he has fired one of the members of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors who happens to be female, black. And she says you don't have authority to do this, and she's already filed suit. And guess what? Guess who's in the right here? Um,
Mm.
and a couple of more things. Oh, and the Air Force in today's Uranus sextile Neptune, which we'll talk about, the Air Force has announced that it's giving military honors to Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by Capitol Police trying to break into the White House on January 6th. And uh, Nevada, and also since going on with that new moon startling stuff, all of Nevada's state websites have been down since August 24th due to a ransomware attack, which happened a couple of days after Nevada refused to turn its voter rolls over to the DOJ. And might notice that there was a horrific mass shooting of children in Minnesota a couple of days after Governor Walz laid into Trump publicly. End of sermon.
And my little sermon is about owning part of Intel. Do you know government owning companies is socialism? And what have we been? Oh, anyway. And socialism can be right wing as well as left wing, by the way. So I'm not happy this morning. So the aspects, I'm going to run quite quickly through them. We went into quite a lot of detail last week, and some of the aspects I'm just going to mention. We went into detail last week if you want to go back over them, and also a reminder that both Kathy and I do detailed week ahead forecasts with all these transits. So, because we want to take a deep dive into the chart we're going to look at. So, anyway, the big aspects for the few days coming up are today we have the Uranus sextile to Neptune exact. That's the first of 5 exact aspects I worked out of this amazing time of transformation we're going through. Then we jump to August the 31st, and Mercury will trine table turner Eris, and that's in Leo and Aries, so that's all fire. And then Mars will oppose Ceres from Libra to Aries, and that's fire and air. So there's a lot of fire and air aspects. And Mercury will also then trine Chiron later in the day. So really all those aspects are really kind of bringing more news, information, as we mentioned last week. September the 1st, Saturn will retrograde back into Pisces for the last time. I can't remember the day it moves back into Aries, but
February
later this
14th.
year. Thank you.
February 14th.
Yeah. So Saturn will travel back into Pisces and station direct 25 Pisces, revisiting some old ground. So we'll talk more about that as well as we look at this chart that we're going to look at. September the 2nd.
Can I
Yeah.
interject something? The trajectory already that we're seeing here, just notice as we're talking about this, starting with today with Uranus in an opportunity, a door opening, window opening aspect to Neptune, there's a possibility of all kinds of startling stuff, new things, new avenues for gaslighting and lies, but also revealing them, communication, and then acting on the communication. That will be a theme in everything we're talking about. And with Saturn going back into Pisces, that it will possibly, it's going to turn our attention back to things that have happened and look at them from the perspective of what's been going on here. And this will lead to the long ranges coming up with ways to clean up and deal with things. So Saturn represents the
Yeah.
authority. It represents the old ways of doing things. It's moving back into territory that it occupied in March through April, through the end of May, rather. So lots of old stuff starting to come up. That's why I have a wave. That's part of why I have a wave behind me. All right, I'm going to shut up and let you go on with the aspects.
Well, and in funny how you can't make this stuff up. Just before we got on, I opened an email from a follower friend, whatever you want to call it. He's saying about some emails had been released about Epstein's connections to Israel and intelligence and Peter Thiel. So haven't had time to look at the astrology of that yet, but we've kind of been saying this, and it also proves that the Epstein documents are not going away. So there's a few aspects about that one too. So Mercury on September the 2nd will move into one of its home signs, Virgo, as we approach the eclipse that is in Pisces, Virgo. And so, Mercury in Virgo is very much about analysis, criticism. It's the filing. It really gets down to the details, and Mercury will start to be combust the sun. And I always find with Mercury combust the sun, which means within 10 degrees, that actually things come out. I don't always see that Mercury's burned out, as the old thing says. What do you
Well,
think
and
about that?
definitely with this week, definitely with
Mm.
this week, there's going to be massive clarity. And it's as if there's a giant finger from the sky pointing, saying, "Look at this, deal with it." Or another way of looking at it is when your dog, if you're training a dog and you're not a particularly, well, anyway, some people, if a dog doesn't get out of the house in time, will shove the dog's nose into what it has done in the house. And that is one of the ways of looking at what is going on during this next week.
Yeah, and we will show it in the chart, but I was not going to go through it every day like we did last time because it's kind of all focused around the eclipse. We can
Mhm.
point to them. And also on September the 2nd, Venus in Leo, doing a whistle stop journey through the sign of Leo, opposes strategic wise warrior, justice warrior, Pallas Athena in Aquarius, very close to the USA's nodes, funnily enough. So on September the 3rd, we have a bunch of aspects that kind of work together. And I mentioned we start today with the Uranus Neptune aspect being exact, but it's well in orb for quite a long time. And on September the 3rd, it all points at said Mercury. And so also does Pluto. So we have a finger of destiny pointing at Mercury and it's square Uranus. So that's a big day for that big old finger pointing at Mercury in its own sign of Virgo. And so it's all building to that. And it's just going to keep happening, right?
And
So,
that's the day that the Epstein victims are scheduled to speak before Congress.
mhm, yeah. Oof. And September the 4th, after they have, if it goes ahead on that day, I think it probably will. September the 4th, Mars will square Jupiter. So Mars in Libra, the sign of courts, justice, fairness, wanting to fight for justice. Mars in Libra will square Jupiter in Cancer, which is, about expansion, but also of our basis of security and self-care, and also we're a cancer country, so the USA. So you want to expand on that little story development?
Well, there are many ways this could play out. There could be attacks against the US, and I don't mean
Mm,
military, but we've got a lot of that going on. We could
yeah.
have action, people saying, wait a minute, we're going to do something about this, because of information that gets revealed the day before there's a sense of we're going to do something to advocate for, to fight for children, families, women, our country.
Yep. Yep. And September the 6th, Uranus stations retrograde at 1 Gemini. And as we started with that Neptune Uranus exact sextile, this is all happening in aspect to both Neptune and Pluto, by the way, really. So these are big turnarounds, and Uranus in Gemini is a lot of information. When Uranus retrogrades, more stuff is going to be revealed. Oh, it's quite exciting, really. September the 6th, it's Venus in Leo will actually trine Ceres in Aries. Ceres, what feeds you, what your needs are. But this is happening at 14 degrees Leo, Aries, and Venus, Jupiter, and Sirius met at 14 Cancer on August the 12th. So this aspect is kind of activating that point again as well. So again, fire, more things kind of being burnt off or being revealed in the flames. I think it's very passionate. Then September the 7th is the day of the eclipse, and we'll look at that in detail. And we've both done videos on it, I'm sure. But there's fingers of destiny again, and Mars will quincunx. So the big aspect involved in the eclipse is that Mars will quincunx Centaur Nessus. The buck stops here, revealing abuses of power. And I've noticed Nessus by transit, Centaur Nessus, has been very active every time it activates a certain person's chart. And a quincunx is an aspect of adjustment. It's like a scratch you can't itch. It's like something's going to break open, right? So, and then following on the eclipse, just 3 days after, the sun will actually conjunct the south node. So, the south node is the releasing end or things coming out. So this is a continuing story. And then on September the 11th, Mercury will conjunct the south node as well. And September the 12th, another big day, the sun will sextile Jupiter. That's an aspect of opportunity from Virgo to Cancer, as also the sun opposes Nessus. Now it's past that south node, though. It's like, what's going to come out? More stuff. And Mercury has also just been conjunct the South Node, will sextile Jupiter. And Jupiter is kind of natural law. It's kind of the judges and the courts in many ways as well. So, oh, yeah, a lot more to come out. And then September the 13th, we have the Mercury Cazimi, which is always the day of clarity, as Jupiter exactly makes an unbroken flow aspect to Nessus. So those few days just after the eclipse, they're all kind of really working together. It's just one big kind of purge in my feels like.
I
Yeah.
have one statement about how, like, what this is all leading to is you can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Run, but you
Because
can't hide.
remember it's a total lunar eclipse too, which means both lights are big and bright in the sky, right? So shining their light on stuff as well. So it's kind of all happening under that. And then I'll just finish with, the kind of the fallout after that as we head towards the next eclipse. But Mars will oppose table turner Eris, and on this is September the 15th, as Venus in Leo also aspects table turner Eris in Aries, and then Mars will also aspect Venus. They're all kind of talking to each other, and Mercury will also make an aspect of adjustment Eris. And I always find Eris fights for the outsiders. She is, kind of she fights for those, probably the Epstein victims, I'm going to say. But anyway, and so September the 16th, Venus will aspect Chiron, Mars will oppose Chiron. So Venus and Mars, the kind of sacred feminine and masculine, are both working together with Chiron, both revealing kind of the wound and looking at the wound direct in the face and then saying, what are we going to do about it? And I'll finish with September the 17th. Mercury will then oppose Saturn. That's Saturn's first major aspect after moving back into Pisces. More news being revealed in its own sign, Virgo. Oh, what a time! So we've got to do it. I'm afraid. I don't.
Yeah, but I
like
want
looking
to
at
say
this.
a couple of things about this couple of weeks and what it means before we go
Mm.
into ick. Uh, I always remind people, an eclipse is not a one-day event. It is a process. And
Mm.
this one clearly, because of where Saturn is going to be pulling a lot of stuff up from earlier in the year, in addition to things that have happened recently. And it will take months to play out. But, but, a couple of things. It's at 15 degrees Pisces, Virgo, and it is going to be active. And it brings a lot of revelations and it closes things down and people leave and there's very, very dramatic stuff that happens. And this is happening across the signature, the change agent signature that's in the charts of a lot of people, people who were born, who are about 60 or 61 years old at this point, because there was a conjunction in the mid to late 60s between Uranus and Pluto, but there are a lot of people who've been in the news and who are political, who have something that is going to be close to the 15 Virgo mark, okay? And this is also going to echo things that happened, or it's going to dredge up stuff from the end of August. No, yeah, 2024. This degree, this area, this part of the sky was active when the Democratic National Convention nominated Kamala Harris. So there could be some things coming out about something coming out of that situation that this eclipse will wash, it'll wash up from the depths and it'll be on the shore and people will be going, ooh, hmm. So
Mm.
there, it's going across her chart and anybody. I'm not sure who else because I didn't look, but just keep in mind.
Walls too. Walls was.
Well,
I mean, they're
right.
quite close in age. Yeah.
Right. He
Mhm,
only has
mhm.
he only has one that's in orb of this,
Yeah,
and I can't remember which one
true.
it is. Um,
But I
anyway,
think we're seeing it already in his state with the shooting that he's
mhm.
kind of back up. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Anybody.
So anybody who's about 60, 61,
Mm,
if you're an astrologer, you have an interest in it, look at their charts, and you
mhm,
could see that that's going to be important for them, those public figures.
mhm, definitely. But we can't look at all their charts on one
No, no,
day.
no. I'm just
So we,
sending it out,
yeah.
putting
Oh
it,
no, no, no.
letting the ripple out,
I'm
throwing the stone across the water.
I know you're
You
not
got
saying that, but I know people would love us too, but we can't. So we are going to stick with the one person who is being very impacted by or this eclipse and really a lot of things right now. I've actually got a list of other major transits to his chart coming up, but I'm not going to go through them all, but I might dip in the odd one when we talk about it. But I've just put this, to the eclipse itself so people can see the eclipse that Mercury is less than 5 degrees away from the sun, so it goes to that combust that I talked about, and that's in his first house, so that's his public face, if you like, or face one on one, who he shows up as, and that's on the releasing end of the nodes, the south node, and this is the moon in Pisces, conjunct the North Node and Centaur Nessus. I mentioned Nessus quite a few times. And back during the eclipse, we had a lot going on in this house. Saturn was there. We had the Venus and Mercury retrogrades going back into that house, all activating all of that. And this is talking about going back to March that Kathy has mentioned several times. And the seventh house is open enemies or others. So just take that as you wish. And of course, his Uranus natally is at 17 degrees Gemini. So the nodes sit square his Uranus right through the eclipses. The lunar eclipse, and I'll just kind of give people the real details, then we'll kind of talk about it. But the moon is really square to Uranus too because it's an eclipse. But Nessus again is almost exactly square his lunar nodes on this eclipse, and this sun and his moon opposition. So I think his enemies are, from his perspective, are probably coming to get him. So what do you think, Kathy?
Well, could you draw the Grand Cross so people can see it?
Mm, yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. Yeah, we could take this point by point, but the one I want to start with is the fact that the nodes are squaring Uranus. So
Mhm.
Uranus in the chart system I use, which is, well, first off, Uranus is a destabilizing influence. With that being in his most public house, he's a chaos agent. That's what his role is. But with the nodes hitting that, um, in the house system I use, Uranus rules his house of health, and it's up there in his most public house. And there could be something here overwhelming him and causing a sudden health event, a sudden event
Mm,
affecting his public status. So that's thing one. Thing two, the fact that that Nessus is exactly squaring his nodal axis means this is forcing information out, and there's got a faded quality to it about his abusive partnerships, about the power alliances he has made that are not appropriate, and very possibly it's going to force other people to take, as Louise said, take action against him. But this covers everything, everything, because it's his home, his base, his health, his place in the world, his career, his identity, and his relationship with his body, and all of his one-on-one situation with allies or open enemies. Everything is being pressured, and the fact that it's in this grand cross indicates that there isn't really any way to escape it right
Yeah.
now. There's a crossroads. The image I like to use, which is graphic and brutal, but you'll love it, is, and I think I've said this here before, a live butterfly being pinned to a specimen table. So he will probably do even weirder, crazier things as a result, but there's something going on that you can run, but you can't hide. There's a sense of culmination, especially with Saturn coming back around again and heading for his. This is a lot of stuff. I'm getting in way too much detail here, but
Mm.
this is
It,
inescapable. I
mhm.
said in March that a wrecking ball was being unleashed, and I meant at him, and he's acted out a lot of it, but this is when you see what it's done to him.
Yeah. Now, it's kind of funny because this to me just is evidence that all house systems work. Because in the house system I use, Saturn is the ruler of his house of health. It's also the traditional ruler of Aquarius, so which Kathy, I presume it's Aquarius on the cusp. But Saturn is moving back into Pisces, and Pisces is very much about letting go, but it's also like congestive things and so on. And there's a lot of speculation for entertainment purposes only that he has congestive heart failure. So, with Uranus being kind of the sudden radical change, and then the Saturn going back into Pisces, revisiting things and things from his past coming to light, I think, as well, with Saturn, because Saturn is time. It's not gonna feel good to him, shall we say.
Well,
so,
and so he has the moon in the sign of Sagittarius, which is foreign connections in one thing, and additionally, the sun being stressed in this configuration, sun rules the heart.
mhm. And there's Venus over there in Leo in his 12th house, at the degree Mercury station retrograde at. And Venus is, I remember the late great Erin Sullivan talking about Venus when the pandemic hit, rules kind of veins, venal, venereal, all that kind of VEN words. You cannot make this stuff up, right? So, and Pisces
Well,
is also, I mean, sorry, the 12th house is also kind of a very like letting go place, or kind of Piscean kind of energy in many ways. Mhm.
and another strain of that, another characteristic of it is that Venus in Leo is in his house of backroom deals, hidden things. I'd say a house of criminality, and women are coming forward, and it's in an exact adjustment aspect with the moon in Pisces. So women
Mhm.
coming forward about they're being martyred, they're being victimized, they're being wounded.
Mhm.
Many
And that trine
people, oh,
Ceres in
there
Aries.
we
In
go.
the eighth house of secrets, and hidden things, and many other things as well, shared resources. It's
This
quite the
is series
lineup.
series coming after Hades for what he did to her daughter Persephone. This is women going, no, you don't,
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
fury.
yeah, it is. And in Aries, with that's like standing up for themselves too, because it's yeah, it's a lot for him. And there are other aspects we could move to, but before we do, I also want to mention that the nodes during the eclipses are in another aspect of adjustment to his natal Jupiter. And in fact, that we've got that finger of destiny. I've just noticed that one from his wound, Chiron, pointing at that at Ceres on that. So finger of destiny towards that series of those women standing up for themselves. And it could be other people too, of course, but also Jupiter, kind of the law, in that aspect of adjustment to the North Node, which is where we're heading. So, wow.
And that's in his house of what he values, but also how he makes his money. And Jupiter in Libra is all the deals, all
Mhm.
the deals. So,
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, I know it never seems to go anywhere, but we've been saying it's for a long time that this is a process, and um, I've long, what we don't get as many now comments of why didn't the Dems or Harris like challenge the results of the election. I think that they didn't do it because they didn't want a worse version of January the 6th happening. They have his voters have to see who he really is, I think, for this to end. Would you? And this is revealing who he really is, right?
oh, yes, one. Also, look at moving on to one other aspect, look at transiting Eris and his Venus. So
Yes.
there is something here, it's exactly squaring it. His Venus in
Mm-hmm.
Cancer in the 11th house has to do with uh, group associations. That's the Trump organization. That's family business. That's his deals with other countries, with Saturn being there, and agreements that he had with women or things he did that constrained or enslaved women. He had a modeling service, he had an escort service. Um, Underage Russian girls, I do believe, in the 80s. And then there was all this stuff with the different beauty pageants. So Eris coming at that, this is a not going away thing. And I know people say, oh, when's it going to happen? Well, I wouldn't want to be in the middle of all this. And might I suggest this is all his own fault? This is stuff that he's
Oh,
brought on himself, coming home to
mhm.
roost.
And it's affecting his health. So I've noticed yet another finger of destiny. So transiting series is in sextile to his natal series in his house of health and pointing at well, no, that's not a finger of fate, but the aspects are pointing at that Venus. I just think because he's stressed, that's gonna, whatever the doctors recommend for his health is not going to work because he's too stressed by all this. So,
Is there an
it feels like
importance to 15 degrees of a fixed sign?
the 15 degrees of the fixed signs, which are Leo and oh gosh, mind Taurus, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius are world points. They're known as world points. The world points are 0 degrees of the cardinal signs and 15 degrees of the fixed signs. Then there's a couple of in the mutable signs that I don't really look at that much. Do you?
No, but my point being, this is huge.
Oh, oh yeah,
And
exactly. It is
there are
huge. Yeah.
global implications for what's going on here.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's based very much on where Venus is and the fact that Mercury stationed retrograde there as well. So things are going back to things that have happened before. So, whatever comes out, I think it's just kind of all the pieces are starting to come together. All the pieces that Kathy and I have been trying to pull together for months since November. Um, the web of people around the world, the tech bros, which is very Uranus too, all these connections. But of course, to quote, are you friends with Irma? I on Facebook. Anyway, I had literally had this thought this morning: when the head of the Hydra's cut off, it'll all start to collapse. So, the head of the Hydra. Hmm.
Interesting. Interesting.
Isn't it?
Um,
Yeah,
so I would encourage
yeah,
people to look at the horrible stuff you're seeing in the news with at least a partial, like, consider the possibility that there is a desperate last minute, I will grab everything I possibly can before I hit the floor. And I have an
yeah.
image of grabbing and then all this stuff just falling off the desk as there's a plunk on the ground. So, yes, there
Mhm.
are terrifying news items that come out. I don't like them, but don't they have an air of unreality unless you're smack in the middle of them, all right? I am
Yeah.
physically distant from it. So it's not that I'm walking around DC seeing all the soldiers, and I'm sure that's a very different vibe, but consider the possibility that what we're watching is I'm going to do as much as I possibly can while I can.
It just has this real air of desperation. The way it's like one thing after another every day, and it is, yeah. I'm gonna do all this kind of to stop what's coming, kind of thing. But I don't think it's going. I don't think with these aspects, I don't see how it can really stop it. You know.
I've just thought of one other person who I think is going to be in the line of fire of this, and I do believe it's Stephen Miller. So
Ooh.
anyone, so we don't need to look at him, but just watch. All right, there's a lot of stuff. Why did my
Mm.
recording just go off? Great. Oh well,
Why did what go off?
my
I
recording
didn't
just went
hear
off.
anything.
No, but
Oh,
mine
oh
did.
well. Oh, weird. I'll
Okay,
send it to you anyway.
Uranus, woohoo!
Mine is. Yeah, I know. Weird things like that have been happening to me. I sent two emails yesterday with a new Zoom link. It was there when I hit send. It wasn't there when anybody received it. It didn't kind of hold in there. And I'm like, what is going on? But we can have a quick look at Stephen Miller if you want to quickly look. I don't want to go into great detail, but
Yeah,
let's.
yeah, let's not. I'd rather give
Oh,
people
well,
some
I
stuff.
put him up anyway. So,
Oh, okay.
oh,
Well, if all right,
yeah, it's hitting him big time. Yeah.
all right. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeehaw.
Yeah. So Kathy was right. So we're not going to look at his chart because I don't like him. He's horrible. He's even worse, I think, in many ways. But, yeah.
Oh, so horribly. Um,
Oh.
what I wanna say to people is that everything is Pisces has the propensity of drowning us in other people's stuff and making it really difficult for us to see what's ours and what's somebody else's. And as these various bodies, Mercury and the Sun, go across the South Node, they give us the opportunity to let go of stuff and to build some boundaries and to see where the distances are. And especially once the Sun and Mercury fuse in that cazimi, you could get some incredible clarity about what is going on. So as the news may completely overwhelm you in the next couple of weeks, and if it does, you know what we say,
Mhm.
separate, be really kind to yourself, do techniques to get rid of other people's business. I have a playlist called Actions You Can Take that has a bunch of energy management tips. And on my site, empowermentunlimited.net, I have a free 1 hour talk in the shop called Reclaiming Your Energy. I won't bother you at all if you download it. You can just have it. So I, I really encourage people to let things wash over you and not to run after stuff and just to sit back. And if you want to have a nice little glass of, I don't know, rosé, Chablis, something,
Whatever you like.
whatever
Yeah.
you like, just go,
Yeah.
"Oh, look what I'm watching. Hoo hoo."
And
I, for
and
one, have a bottle of Prosecco in my refrigerator. It's been there, and you know what I'm going to use it for. So,
and I've been getting lost in music by going to all these
yeah.
concerts as well. But it doesn't mean don't and one of the shadows of Virgo, especially with this heightened energy, is guilt. Okay. And so don't feel guilty if you're taking care of yourself. It makes you more able to help others. It does not mean you do not care. It's not serving anybody to kind of go into the depths of despair. It really is not. You're just not going to be. good for anything to help anybody. So, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
recharge, and then you can go back into the fray in whatever way you feel your particular role is.
exactly. I sat next to a really lovely group of people last night. I went to see Toto. um, yeah, anyway. But anyway, they love Toto and they were from Peru originally, so they obviously have brown skin. And I couldn't help, I just sat there thinking, what must they be going through because they know that just because of the color of their skin, they're targets. But I thought I'm not going to spoil their joy by even mentioning it. There's no point, let things go occasionally, right? Yeah. So for now, goodbye from me and goodbye from Cassie. And next week we'll be back to Friday again. And it might be a bit erratic for a couple of weeks because of a
Yeah.
few weeks. I have some travel coming up too. So, but for now, bye.
Bye.